What is going on, everybody? I am back today not to do a formal review, but to talk about everyone's favorite subject matter. I'm assuming, especially if you're a United States citizen right now, and that is politics and politics in relation to art. And this isn't even my favorite conversation to have. And honestly, being a United States citizen my entire life, and especially recently, has been nothing short of a nightmare. And if you have been watching me for quite some time now, which most of you who have been commenting on my videos and who have been truly wonderful people, at this point, you know I'm an atheist. I'm progressive. I believe all human beings should have rights. I am a huge supporter of all marginalized groups. That includes immigrants, people of color, the LGBTQ community. I am very much aligned with socialized healthcare. I would like my country to have universal healthcare for all people, an easier access to education. I have very much what are aligned with more liberal, progressive viewpoints. I don't affiliate myself with any specific political party, but I think what is missing from this country is empathy and compassion, understanding for human beings. And if you don't get that out of the reviews that I've made, I don't know what to tell you. But I think that the current administration that is in office right now is one of the most volatile, disgusting, horrible administrations that the American government has ever seen. I think the way they are treating human beings that are members of this country is disgusting because what I try to remember everyone is if you are a United States citizen, you are here illegally. This is not our land. This is the land of the indigenous people, of Native Americans who had this land stripped away from them long before we were born. And it's disgusting to see the way hardworking, incredible Americans are being treated solely because their skin color is different and the hateful rhetoric that is being spewed about groups of people that are here solely to take care of their families, the way that trans people are being treated right now. I could go on and on and on. But the reason I'm having this conversation today is because I wanted to talk about politics in relation to art and how I believe all art is political. And there are two things that have come up in the media recently that I'm going to mention involving the talking points I have today. And let's get started. So, if you are very familiar with my content, you know I love horror movies. Horror has been an enormous part of my life since I was very, very young. It's really what fundamentally shaped me to love movies the way that I do. And just recently, Damien Leone, the creator of the Terrifier franchise, released this statement. And I'm going to put it up on screen. You can pause it. You can go to his Twitter, his Instagram, whatever, read his full comments, but essentially decided to come out and say, I made horror movies because I love them and they're only made for entertainment purposes. And I don't take either side of the political aisle. I'm not going to talk about that, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows Terrifier, regardless of Republican, Democrat, everyone should be able to enjoy this franchise. And what I would say in regards to that is you are a coward. I think this is one of the most cowardly, both sidesy statements of, I really hope my franchise doesn't lose money from Republicans because two of my actors are constantly outspoken in regards of what is going on in Gaza and their outspokenness towards the queer community and towards marginalized groups. Lauren Lavera has been very outspoken. David Howard Thornton has been very outspoken. Two wonderful, incredible human beings. And this feels like the most disgusting, disingenuous thing that a creator can say as far as a contradictory statement to what his actors are stating currently and publicly. And what disappoints me so much about this is horror is a genre made for marginalized groups of people. And what I said about all art being political, if you look through the history of horror as a genre, we want to look back as early as the Universal monster movies, some of the biggest and earliest introductions into horror as a whole for a lot of people. James Whale, the director of the original Frankenstein, an openly gay man who very much was not ashamed to admit that the fact that the character of Frankenstein and a lot of these characters that exist in the Universal monster space were an allegory for marginalized groups of people. These monsters that were treated horribly by the members of these communities solely because they were misunderstood. Frankenstein, especially, but if you look through all of the Universal monsters, they're misunderstood characters that typically acted out in violence when they were aggressed on. And I think that it's so interesting to look in an early period in Hollywood history, even before the queer community was accepted in that way, and to see how that art, whether you go there and say, I'm just going to enjoy this as a horror movie, is politicized. I think about George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, and a movie released around the heightened period of the civil rights movement that is showcasing the horrors that African American people were living through in the lens of a horror film, and what happens to our black lead character in the third act of that movie. And just I can only imagine seeing that film in that time period and what that would feel like. You look at a genre that you would never think would be political whatsoever, something like Friday the 13th, or just the slasher genre as a whole. What is the reoccurring trope throughout the slasher genre? It's that the kids that are being killed by these slashers are being killed because of their bad moral compasses. They're being murdered because they're having premarital sex, they're smoking weed, and that's a reoccurring trope that has existed throughout horror movies. You watch them because it's goofy and it's stupid and it's fun, but there's that underlying thing in all of those films. And I think no matter how you want to look at it, art is political. All art that is created, you can pull some form of political stance out of it. And I find this statement from David Howard Thornton to be so incredibly tone deaf. And whether or not he believes it wholeheartedly, that he's just creating his art for entertainment purposes, look at the amount of members of marginalized communities that are watching this art and engaging with it because it's a form of community with other people in their groups that feel the same way that they do. I, as a person who is a member of the queer community, has found horror to be such a place of solace and comfort for me in difficult times. And to see so many people that are in these same communities and in marginalized groups that find that level of community, they are going to read a statement like this from you and feel like you are casting them out. No matter whether or not you feel like what you are saying is genuinely authentic, it will never come across that way to these groups of people at all, period. It's going to come across as you are looking at them saying, I don't care about you. Because no matter what you want to say, in the United States political landscape right now, there is a separation between the two different sides of the aisle. When it comes to conservatives, they don't have any platform that they run on other than hatred towards groups of people and lack of empathy. They do not want queer people to exist. They don't want immigrants to live in this country. And very soon they're going to start targeting black people again, because we're already seeing it in conservative states that crazy conservatives have tried to push forward legislation to get rid of interracial marriage. It's going to come for every marginalized group when this power that only wants white wealthy people to live in the United States of America exists. And unfortunately, his hate and vitriol has spread to that group to where they are very open about it because now they feel that they can be. And so I think disingenuous statements from creators like this are going to do so much harm in the future, and make people feel like they can come out and say the worst, most horrible things to fans in that group that are a member of the other side of the aisle. And what I will say to you is, if you are on that right side, you should really kind of look very deeply inward and think, why do I hate these people so much? Why do I feel so strongly against marginalized groups? Why am I okay with the fact that the government spreads all this misinformation to you about how immigrants in this country are all horrible, rapists, violent criminals, when if you look statistically, that is not the case whatsoever. The people who cause the most hurt and harm in this country are white men, and that is just the complete and total truth. And I think that statements like this are so incredibly harmful. And I wanted to address that today. And I'm also going to transition into another side of this political debate and what's going on right now, which is the actress Carla Sofia Gascon, who has been nominated for multiple Academy Awards for her performance in Amelia Perez, has had a ton of tweets resurface that have shown her to be an incredibly hateful and racist human being. Tweets in regards to George Floyd, tweets tweets in regards to Muslim people. Just truly some of the most disgusting, vile, sickening remarks that a human being can make, and how she's backpedaling and saying, I'm not a horrible racist. I haven't done anything terrible. And how I think that is directly reflective of that piece of art that is created. Because I did my full review on Amelia Perez. If you want to go watch my full review on that, you can go back and check it out right now. But my issue with that movie is it's disingenuous. And what I think is so interesting is there is a very huge difference in just showcasing diversity in a film and authentically showcasing diversity in a film. I'm going to beat it to death, but I talk about Jane Schoenbrun's I Saw the TV Glow on this channel nonstop. That is a love letter to the trans community created by a trans creator who understands the struggles of the community. And it comes through in every single frame in that film. Everything about Amelia Perez is laughable. The understanding of the trans community, the understanding of the people that it is depicting in the film, and how the director himself is a French man who said that he didn't care about learning about the Hispanic culture, didn't care about learning anything about that community, didn't do his research when it comes to trans people as well. And then we are seeing one of the main actresses involved in the film that she is a hateful and bigoted human being despite being a member of two marginalized groups. And it's just really interesting to me how people can watch this stuff and see it and say, oh, we're going to nominate this movie for 13 Academy Awards when it had nothing to do with caring about these groups of people at all. There's no way, shape, or form that this movie exists to showcase compassion towards the trans community or show compassion to the Hispanic community. There's none of that. It just feels like it was check marking a bunch of boxes, and now when more comes to light, it showcases that that's just the real and authentic truth. And just having these two things happen so close together showcases the landscape of the way political and social ideology comes together in art, and the level of hypocrisy that exists in that, and just overall the importance of authenticity in creating art for marginalized groups, and the importance of, if you care about marginalized groups, be vocal about it. If you have a platform, this is going to be a time where members of the LGBTQ community, members of immigrant communities, people of color are going to be more scared than they ever have been in the United States of America for the next 4 years. I might not have 16,000 followers on YouTube. I might not, but as long as I am here doing this, I will openly advocate for loving all people and being empathetic and compassionate towards all groups of people for as long as I have a voice on here. And if you're not okay with that, goodbye. I don't want you here. If you don't like what I have to say, goodbye. I don't care. I am going to continue to support all people, and I'm going to continue to use my voice and my platform to uplift art that cares and is compassionate for all people. And I think that it is so important that even if you have a limited voice, that you do the exact same thing. And I appreciate you for listening to me rant. Both of these things kind of got me all fired up. I don't typically spend my entire time on this platform talking about politics, but I feel like being openly vocal right now is more important than it ever has been. And I really appreciate you sitting and taking the time to listen to me today.